Insight without action feels productive, right? But it doesn't change outcomes. Feedback without follow through becomes frustration. Reflection without adjustment turns into rumination. The difference between people who grow occasionally and those who grow consistently is simple. They close the loop. So today we're talking about how to turn insight into improvement every time by building a system that actually responds. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
All right, so here's the thing, right? What insights have you gained recently that haven't yet changed your behavior? And so I'll give you my version of that over the last couple years. And so one insight could be data. Let's say numbers. And so if I take a look at this podcast, That Will Never Work podcast, has had its moments had its ups and downs, right? And in those ups and downs, I have found the data to show that in those ups and downs I've had a lot of people listening to the podcast. Then I have some that do not, like other times where they do not, like I go through a dry spell. And so what happens is when you get that data, what are you doing or what are you changing? So are you paying attention to when and where it goes up and down? So for an example, there have been moments where I have noticed the numbers go higher when I am recording less or I have put out less shows. I have also noticed when it goes up higher, download-wise, when I have more shows or I am very consistent. Here's where the question comes, right? The question comes, at what point do you see a consistency when the numbers are high? So I'll give you another example of that or a version of that. So if my numbers are high because I am recording more, I'm producing more, and versus as over, let's say, a 7-day period, but my numbers are high and I haven't recorded, but they're only over a 2-day period. Why? So sometimes the outlier being a 2-day period, you're like, well, listen, I got the numbers I was getting when I was recording every day, but here's the challenge with that. The challenge is that you have no idea who heard one of those episodes in that 2-day period and they just push your information through versus a longer period of time, right? And what is the average? Are the average the same for each show? Like, so what's going on? And so I want you to feel like or understand that awareness can feel like the progress, like you are aware of your numbers, but it's just a starting line. And growth doesn't happen when you just notice something. It happens when you respond to it. And professionals who stall often confuse insight with implementation. And so I am stalling and I'm thinking like, you know what? I've gotten the numbers. If I don't record, then my numbers should stay the same. But that hasn't always been the case. That hasn't always been the outcome. Right? And so one of the things that we need to adjust and understand is that the feedback that we get from that data, the information that we get from that data it should really lead to an adjustment. Because feedback is incomplete until it changes the behavior. So the behavior should be, Maurice, show up every day. Show up. Don't give yourself the out that just because these 2 days, the numbers appear to be high in comparison to 7 days. It doesn't work that way. You need to still show up. And so I need you to, Maurice, to close the loop. And closing the loop means deciding what stays the same, what improves, and what stops altogether. And so procrastination, for me, it has to stop. And so I think that's what has to happen, right? So without adjustment, feedback repeats itself louder and more urgently. Again, without adjustment, feedback repeats itself louder and more urgently. And so with that comes, if we don't adjust, the feedback that we get will ultimately start to become more negative in some cases. Not all, but some. And so now we're looking at these days of 2 days versus 7 days where we're missing a whole 5 days, because I've had moments where I have 2 days that are really high, the next 5 are quiet, not one download. Do you really want that to continue to repeat itself? And as it's repeating itself, it becomes louder and louder. And again, there's a level of urgency. And so consistency, i.e. showing up all 7 days versus 2 days, it turns change into now my identity. And one correction helps. Repeated corrections transform. And so when reflection, feedback, and action form a cycle, improvement becomes a part of who you are, not just what you do occasionally. Again, when they come together, this becomes a part of who you are and not just what you do occasionally. So if I'm showing up every day for 7 days, I am now consistent enough to move forward. Now, we understand that in order for it to become a habit, it has to be 21 days, right? 21 plus days. Then it becomes a habit. And so now with that habit, am I showing up every single day? Am I sitting down recording an episode every single day? Am I sitting down coming up with the content every single day? Am I understanding, what is my true trajectory in this life? Who I'm going to transform? What needs to happen in just showing up? Sometimes we don't understand that, and we don't consider what is really needed. And with that being said, these open feedback loops, they can drain the energy and stall your momentum. And this episode that you're listening to right now, it matters because the professionals who close their loop grow faster. In some cases, they make fewer repeated mistakes, and they build trust with others. Now you seem like you're authority, but guess what, though? The most important part, you build trust with yourself. And all this is through consistent follow through. So growth doesn't require more information. It requires a better response. And when you close the loop, progress starts becoming accidental, and it starts becoming automatic. Again, it's the habit. It's the habit idea. And so before you listen to another episode, I need you to identify one insight you've recently gained and define the specific action that will close the loop. And then I would like for you to do it. I need you to define the specific action that will close the loop and then do it. We all have it. We all have that moment. We all have that calling card. There's like, just do this one thing. your life will change. Your desired outcomes will change. You becoming closer to your goal will change. All you got to do is just get up, review it, not be afraid of it, not pull back from it, and get it done. I thank you very much for listening today. You know, one of the biggest challenges we face isn't a lack of talent, opportunity, or even resources. It's the conversation happening between our ears. You know, every day we tell ourselves reasons why we can't start, why we shouldn't try, why we're not even ready, and why now isn't the right time. The Win Inner Circle was created to challenge those thoughts. WIN stands for Well, Why Not? It's a community for people who know they're capable of more, but need the support, accountability, and encouragement to take the next step. Inside, you'll find mindset challenges, personal development resources, community decisions, interactive experiences, and real conversations designed to help you move from existing to empowered. Because transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens one decision, one action, and 1 degree at a time. So if you've been waiting for a sign to start moving forward, this is it. Join us inside the Win Inner Circle and ask yourself the question that changes everything. Well, why not? Win Inner Circle. You can find it on school.com.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?